My name is Robby Peters, co-founder of PeopleTech Partners. And yeah, give you a little bit of background on kind of the story and how this all came together. So for me, this has really been about an 8-year journey pulling this all together. So I actually don't come with an HR background by trade per se, but I was building and helping firms that were consulting for HR leaders. So I started my people career, I would call it, about 8 years ago, working for a company called Mitchell Lake that did a lot of recruitment for high growth tech companies. And for the last 6 years, I've been employed by a company called Sequoia Consulting Group, which helps a lot of companies with their benefits, 401k, commercial insurance. And both of those jobs have been really focused around helping companies that are in fast growth tech environments with those solutions. And my main buyer was the HR leader. And so for me, I kind of made a decision, 8 years ago that I wanted to enjoy my life and not be a guy that was cold call sales all day, right? I just didn't want to sit there at the phone, and I wanted to figure out a way to add value. So what I realized was early days, I would go meet all these great people at all these innovative companies, HR leaders, and I asked them, who do you kind of network with? Who do you talk to? And I saw that there wasn't really a community yet built for this group, and I wanted to be kind of, I saw that was an idea because a lot of them were going to these larger conferences and exhibitions for, let's call it, enterprise companies with 1,000-person HR teams. It was really a lot of compliance and administration driven. And like what I saw was this opportunity where you got these strategic people leaders that were like, yeah, that's important, but like we want to be much more there to impact the way our managers are trained or how they're built, or building feedback and learning channels for people using data, right, to actually make a business case as opposed to just kind of there as HR and really kind of like change the way it was built. So I started co-founded this group. That was called HR 2.0, and it was kind of like, I hope this will be like a successful first event. I brought on a couple heads of HR, and the cool thing is that they're all here today at the conference, and I've known them for a long time. But I brought them together to basically on this panel of companies that have scaled from 50 to 200 the year before, and just to be really innovative and talk. And I was like, I hope that we get 30 people to show up to this thing. To me, that was going to be a success. And the first event we did, we actually drove over 200 people to come. We had the heads of HR of companies like Pinterest and Eventbrite and Square, and I was like, like we're really on to something here, and people really enjoyed that. So I'm like, I'm never going to let that go. For me, for quite some time, it was an awesome way for me to build business opportunities to then work with on the consulting side. Then I really started to get this passion around like, hey, like there's more than that here. There was such an energy with this group that was really trying to change the way people were working. There were so many things broken about the traditional workforce that they were out there trying to execute across. And so I just really got a big passion in this, right? So, long story short, on the event side, I've probably done now over 500 events over the last 8 years, bringing together HR leaders. Some very big, like conferences that we're here at today. Other ones are, smaller focus group dinners with 20 people there, but really diving deep on a certain topic. And overdoing that, I think about 5 years ago is where I really started to see this opportunity to build PeopleTech. So that's really where PeopleTech started to come into the fold, because people would be like, hey, we're having all these great, conversations about things that how are HR leaders, being more strategic. And then when we go back to our company to actually do that, right, we're sitting there and we're like, the technology we have right now, we can't do anything with it. It's a place to input data. It's not agile. It doesn't build into the workflow. The integrations aren't there. The reporting isn't there. And so I was like, like there's an issue here. And we were seeing that. And that's why, truthfully, the first real company I saw coming into this space, I would call it kind of, this was about 5 years ago. You saw companies like Culture Amp and Reflective and Lever and some of these companies. And they started coming, those CEOs, to my events because at that time they wanted to get access to these HR leaders. I started talking closely to some of them about what they were doing. And I was like, like you're actually solving real problems. You're not just like a vendor. You're actually coming to try and like build the way something's different. So my first engagement was really working and going deep with Reflective. I became an equity advisor in the company. I also became an early investor in the company. And my pitch to Reflective and Rajiv was a lot around like, how do we work together so we can build an awesome product? Because I had been working with these HR leaders for so long. I knew it wasn't just about, big, marketing budgets, like blowing things out. Like if you didn't have the right product, it could get out there fast, like because word of mouth. But like if you were messing people over, like that was going to be seen quickly. So really helped them build and got very close to helping them build their first 20 to 30 customers. Saw the success of having all these different feedback channels and how they were doing that. Started to then do some more consulting with a couple other companies, and all of a sudden the influx of companies started to get crazy. Like I was seeing so many companies every day, and it wasn't just around performance or learning and development or recruiting, right? But it was also around like, how do I take care of my employees' mental health, right? How do I take care of their financial well-being? How do I create a more diverse and inclusive culture? And all of these different things were being built tools upon how they could do that. And so I saw this opportunity, and that's where Kara and I, who had done a lot of work together around PeopleTech, around kind of consulting some of these early stage companies. We had done a lot of events. I did a lot of events. She had actually built this huge online community where a lot of HR leaders were talking. It was kind of the perfect combination where we were just like, let's trial this and really try to build something that's more scalable and sustainable. And, to this date, I mean, it just continues to evolve over about 3 years where, to date, we've probably looked at close to 400 companies in the space, and we've dove deep with about 36 or so that we've put through kind of an intensive program where they get to meet. Today, we have over 100, heads of HR and talent, right, that are working with us in our network, dedicating a ton of their time to reviewing and working with these companies so we can, make a better impact for them when they actually go out and start selling and actually be a product that someone's proud to bring in and use. Every day, actually, the crazy thing is, I keep seeing new companies come along. I'm like, how many more problems are there to solve? But, they're actually moving into things that, you wouldn't traditionally God, it's like, they're able to do stuff faster through AI, so they're able to replace maybe an employee that you had doing something, right? Or they're able to actually give you real, true reporting to see how someone's like productive with what they're doing. Or, I think there's also this huge trend of like, companies just being the employee looking at them to say, hey, you need to take care of our overall health. It doesn't mean they have to go spend all this more money or they're bringing in more noise to the employee. Like the employee is going outside of them to try and find a mental health solution, right? So we've worked with this amazing company called Spring Health. And, I got so drawn to them because, I actually have a close background in insurance. I know how hard it is to go out and actually get a therapist, right? The company's already paying for that through their insurance, but it takes a long time. It's super expensive. There's so many issues, right, with how an employee interacts with that it becomes a horrible experience, which then also hurts productivity, right? And so when you get a company like a Spring Health that really has this amazing assessment tool, it helps you get connected to the right people, actually can do it digitally. It actually brings down the cost to the company of what they're paying for someone to go see a therapist, and it does it so much better, so much faster, right? And it allows them to have that much more of an impact, so they're a more impactful employee, right? So that's just an example of a company that I think is doing some really, really interesting things. And I think it's a real tale towards like how these companies are, not just like, hey, we're adding another thing to the company. They're actually like coming in and they're a tool, right, that is going to help employee experience and also decrease cost for employees on a payment they're already doing. Plus, it's going to give you an ROI that you can actually understand, right, and you can bring back and you can say, oh, wow, I had 40% of my population that was having some of these issues, and they were going and doing this, and they were wasting this many hours of their time doing it, and they weren't going down the right channels, and they were being frustrated, and they were spending a lot of money. Now I'm able to do that seamlessly. I'm able to get the reporting. They're much happier. I mean, it's pretty crazy what you're able to do. The majority of the folks that we're working with are that head of HR or talent from, usually these fast growth tech companies, I'd call it 100 to 5,000 person employee companies, why I think it's kind of gone that way. A lot of them are working in innovative companies themselves that are scaling quickly and trying to reinvent the way people work. So these tools are obviously, useful for them as they're trying to be more agile. The head of HR and talent, I think, again, at these companies, they're really seeing that, like, if you don't build a good culture, if you don't have a great kind of employee experience, I mean, those companies themselves are competitive and your employees are going to be leaving, right? So there is really important that you have all the proper tools in place. You have, all of the proper way to communicate it with employees. They just see so much value in what that's happening. And they're also themselves coming from just very unique backgrounds, which are trying to be strategic. And, they themselves believe, look, you've got product, which is important. Like, you can't have business without a product or something to sell. But the other big line, right, is your people. And if you can get your people working a lot more efficiently, I think they can, produce product product faster and be a much happier culture, and that comes out in the product that they're building too. So I think that's been a real reason that they've trended towards working with us, because they're looking for the ways to be cutting edge. They want to give back too. They understand, kind of what's being looked for. So so the typical person is usually a head of HR or talent within kind of this 200 to 5,000 person company that wants to be innovative in their job and is seeing themselves as being much more of a strategic leader. They're all demanding, I want to be represented and reporting into the CEO. And if the CEO doesn't want to work directly with me and they want to put me into finance or do something else, it's probably not the right company for me to be at, right? So they want to be strategic. They want to be at the executive table. They want to be reporting to the CEO, and these tools are allowing these leaders to be able to bring truthful data, right? They can actually look and say, look, this person, specifically, right, like has really stopped being communicative on these different channels, right? Like they seem to be checking out. They're not, coming to these meetings. They're not doing these different things, right? Oh, that could be a trigger to leave. Or, it used to take us, I think we talked to Kevin earlier today, take us 3 months to hire someone. Now we can do it in 4 weeks, and we can show you exactly how that was done. How many people were reached out to? How do we get rid of the inefficiencies? What was that all looking like, right? And a lot of that's being aided by technology. And so I think that's why HR leaders are like, we can make that much more of an impact at our organization if we're able to really hone in on that and, give the tools to do it, but then have the reporting to then be sitting, in the executive table making those decisions for the company. A big part of coming to a conference like this, you're spending a lot of time out of your day to go do that. There's obviously amazing speakers here. I think that someone that's coming to this hopefully is well informed, because we, helped form a lot of the speakers that are here today, and they're talking about a lot of the cutting edge, issues that are going on. But I would, really say, obviously take notes. I saw a lot of people out there with the, video cameras, capturing some of the different slides so they can bring those back and not forget about them. But then take that conversation outside of the door, right? There's a lot of breaks here for networking. So really pushing deeper around that, finding the people that are in that room with you, connect with them so you can go do more things one-on-one. I think that's a huge part of the value that we've been able to create at PeopleTech. Is this is a great event to bring everybody together to start thoughts, but you can only be in an event for 40 minutes to an hour, right? But how can you take that and how can you make that career changing by some of the nuggets that you take away that you can work on, right? But also the people that then you can work on them with, and hopefully you're meeting those same innovative people here. So that to me, I think, is a big piece of advice. Reflective is really, it's continued to morph. When I first met them, they were kind of trying to reinvent the way people do performance management. And now I think they've really added on suite by suite. A lot of this has come through some of the connections and feedback from the PeopleTech network, and also through some of the companies that they've now integrated with that we've made connections to really be this one place that you can manage the employee experience, right? So not just the performance management, but the goal setting, the manager feedback, the one-on-ones, right? Being able to really get a pulse of your organization, what they're happy about that you're doing, and then actually being able to just really understand and analyze the data so then you can bring back and make educated decisions as an HR leader. So that's what Reflective is. Again, our relationships with them has started about 5 years ago when they were just a small company with three co-founders, CEO being Rajiv. And we've really been there along the way, kind of building, as they've built the company, we've been building PeopleTech and testing and trying a lot of things together. We put on a large conference about 15 months ago that Rajiv was a part of. He spoke on a panel for us there, and he saw the energy and the HR leaders that we were able to pull together for that, and just kind of around the thoughts of innovation. And he asked us, he said, hey, if we're going to do this and we're going to build a real conference, like we need to partner with you, because you know where to get all the right speakers, you know how to make sure that it's a message that's going to resonate with the community. So they actually brought us on to help them really be in partnership to think about all the different themes that we wanted to be discussing on the day at this conference. And so Illuminate is really about what are some of the cutting edge things that people are doing at their companies for that employee experience. And we were able to bring probably about 15 speakers from the PeopleTech network that really got excited about this, co-collaborated with Reflective on building the conference. And so we were able to have this, this engaging conference that we're having today. One other thing I think, just to state to that I think is really interesting, and the reason I love what we're doing so much at PeopleTech, is I really view what we're doing as we're just building a great platform, and we're bringing together an awesome network to allow people to get the most out of it with what they want to. So, for us, like being able to put this together, we just ask the people what they want, right? Like, what are the HR leaders that are part of our community? Like, what would you want to come to? And oh, by the way, would you want to help us put that together? If we're going to ask you to take 8 hours out of your day, like, what is that going to look like, right? Don't let Robby go out and dictate that. Like, I would hope I'd have an idea, but it's tough to do. Or, a company like Reflective, they've got, big business goals, they've got big things they need to do, but they trusted that, look, if we're going to be, differential out in the space, like, we need to let our customer decide what they want this conference to be, right? And so I think that, that's why they aligned with PeopleTech. I think that's what gets me so excited, is that, we're trying to build kind of the platform. We're trying to bring together such a quality network. We're giving lightweight structure, so there's something that's moving around within it. But we're encouraging, people only have so much time in the day. These HR and people ops leaders, like, what do they want to do with that time? And if they want to do stuff and they want to organize stuff, we want to allow them to do that within our community. What we try to do is we try to really engage with our community as well. So doing conferences like today, right, where we've got these amazing people leaders. I think I had a bit of a talk earlier today, and we did some counting up of how many years has our collective group had in the people profession, and it was over 1,500 years in the people profession, right? So who better to write content about, the things that they've seen and how the space is evolving. So the way we really try to do that is through our newsletter. So that would be somewhere that is easily accessible through our website. Checking out our newsletter. We're keeping up with people kind of monthly around that. And we're also, again, from that is where we announce all the different events we do, all the different speaking things we do. The other thing that we really try to do innovatively on our newsletter is do case studies for companies, right? So bringing, and within all things we're doing, it's not us just saying, hey, you should go check out Spring Health or shift.org or whatever it might be. It's saying, hey, does the people leader at Slack enjoy using this tool? Yes, no. Like, if they do you want to talk about that experience? So having the people leader at Slack come and talk about, why did they look at this company? What was the need they had at Slack, right? When they brought it in, what were the challenges they were trying to solve for? Did it work? What was the ROI? So again, like anything we're doing, I think that the reason that we've been successful and driven an audience is because we're connecting the end user, the people leader, to talk about why they use something and if they liked it or they didn't. And if they didn't like it, then you'll know about it, right? And if they did and they were there to collaborate and help build that company, I think that's something that we want to then put out to the larger public. Because again, another question I asked today was, how many people get here pinged from 5+ companies a week that are trying to change the way they're working? And everybody put their hand up. So, that's a huge amount of companies to have to know about. If we can create this network that's been analyzing those, and then knowing that any company that's part of PeopleTech has spent over 100 hours meeting with an end user, an HR leader, right? That's going to be there to tell about their story of how they used it. And then if they like it, then hopefully that's a pretty good checkpoint for someone to say, I've done my diligence, right? And allow them to use our network, hopefully to advance the types of tools they're bringing in, the thought leadership, the way they're evolving their HR profession and their practice within their companies. Those are the important things for us. To learn more about what we're talking about and see more about our leaders and companies, go to www.peopletechpartners.com.